Hey everybody, Pat here from West Corners Custom Cycles. Thanks for tuning back into the channel. I'd like to thank everybody for all the views, all the likes, all the subscriptions and comments. Please keep the comments coming. If you're just tuning into the channel for the first time, you like what you see, by all means, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos of what I do, what's coming out next, ring that bell. Get a notification every time a new video comes out. And by all means, subscribe. Hit that subscription button. Today's video is a video on the MB24A DELL'ORTO carburetor. It's used on all the Harley Davidson two-stroke models from the mid-60s on up to the early 70s. It's the same carburetor that was on the 1968 M125 Harley Davidson Aermacchi video that I did. I did a restoration on one. It's on the channel. If you haven't seen it, you can check it out. But it's the same carburetor on that. I have several bikes that have this carburetor on it, different years. So this tutorial video is going to show you exactly how to tear it down, build it back up, clean it, put it back together, all the adjustments you're going to have to do to it to put it back on the bike, be able to start it up and take it down the road. Without any further ado, let's get to the video. Check it out. Hey everybody, Pat here from West Corners Custom Cycles again. In the underground garage. Actually, again, today we really are in the under garage. I'm in my basement. Middle of February here in New York, freezing outside. What I got to do today is just a carburetor rebuild on a little Harley. 1970 125. I took this carburetor. I actually got two of them. This is the carburetor. It's a DELL'ORTO carburetor MB24A. Used on all the 125 Harley Davidsons from, I believe, 65 or 68 up to about 73. What the deal is, I got the bike, it came with this extra carburetor. I went through it, cleaned it all out, rebuilt it and everything, was getting get ready to put it on the bike. This is the one that was on the bike. Two different carburetors. You can see one's a little cleaner than the other one. So we're going to take the one that was on the bike and make it as clean as that one. One thing I noticed when I took this off the bike, there's a hole here, right here in the top. There's supposed to be a choke lever that goes in there. You pull up on for the choke. Missing on this carburetor. I can show you on this one. This is how it works. That's the choke. That's the choke off. Okay, anyway, I'll order those parts and get them coming. The rest of this I'm going to get apart. I have an ultrasonic cleaner that's sitting right here next to the camera. I picked it up at Harbor Freight. They're about $90. It's actually a good investment if you're going to do a bunch of carburetor work, because I've done quite a few carburetors in my time. We had one of these when I worked at a marina down the road, and they're super great for getting carburetors clean. Absolutely cleans them up like brand new. Okay, enough said. These carburetors are pretty basic. They come apart pretty easily. Top barrel here just unscrews. This top part pulls off. This part here is where your cable goes down through into the carburetor, connects to the slide down inside here. On the end of the cable is this spring, but this is the slide. Should come right out of there. Got your needle and everything on it. You're going to need a 14 millimeter for this and for this. 14 millimeter because these are Aermacchi Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson partnered with an Italian company called Aermacchi back in the late 60s, early 70s. The company used to build airplanes for World War II for the Italians. After the war, they obviously weren't building fighter planes and stuff anymore, so they got into building small bikes. They were building these carburetors and stuff for Benelli and a couple, I think, Ducati and a couple other companies too. But they're a pretty good carburetor. I just redid a bike with a buddy of mine. It was a 1968 125. This is a 1970. The other one's a cool little road bike. I'll have to do a video on that. We got it up and running. I got to put a clutch in it before it's complete. Get this pulled apart. Just unscrew this out of here. Set it down. There's two of them. You can't get them mixed up. One has threads on the outside, one has threads on the inside. This one comes right off the top. Boom. And what this is where your fuel line hooks to when it comes down to the carburetor. Now there's a gasket on both sides of this, and inside there's a plastic screen. Just a filter, keeps stuff from getting down into your carburetor. Now, this part of the carburetor, sorry for the glare on the light, I hope you can see okay. You got two screws holding the top to the float bowl on. Gonna pull those off. Sorry, I was trying to get this where you guys could see on the bench, but I didn't want to stand up straight. I'm using my tablet. Let me see if I can angle it a little better so you guys can see what's going on the table. Falling over. Yeah, I guess it's not going to cooperate. All right, anyway. Pop the top off this float bowl. There's a gasket there. That's where your needle and float and everything will go. Float was actually still stuck down in here. Actually, a little dirty in there. Not as horrible as I thought it would be. It certainly was not as horrible as the last one. You can't see down in there very well. Let me see, I got a light here. Maybe it'll help. You can see there's some old gas down in there, down inside where the slide goes, you can see. Next thing it's got to come off is the exhaust manifold. This hooks to the cylinder. This goes up and hooks to the carburetor. Your air cleaner goes on this side. It's got a little 8mm bolt over here. Bust that loose. Now these are kind of a pain in the ass to get out of here, so I'm going to show you on this other one that I've already got apart how they come together and go apart. They just slide into each other, and you can see, I hope you can see the slots going around on this outer part here, right here. There's 4 of them that go around this. So you're gonna when you go to put it in there, you got to kind of jiggle it and work it around, and maybe get a plastic or rubber hammer and see if you can knock it in there. But make sure before you get it in there, it's lined up where you want it to be, because once you get it in there, it won't turn. Okay, get that out of there. We're gonna take all the rest of this apart. There's a little clip right here on the top of this. You just work it out the side like that, and that's what holds your needle in here. Pull it right out. Now on this needle, let's see if I can get it to where you guys can see it good enough. There's 3 notches on this. Is there 3? Yeah. There's 3 grooves in the top of this. I don't know how well you can see them. But when you put this back together, you want that clip to go in the center notch. For higher elevations and down at sea level and stuff, I guess that's what those other notches are for. You can raise it up and down and it'll lean out or richen up your mixture, and that's what that's for. On this part, that's where the spring goes. Goes up in the bottom here. Cable comes down through the top. Goes down through the spring. Goes in a little notch here in the side of the slide. Pulls it up and down when you hit the throttle. Okay, that's pretty much it. That's all it takes to whip one of these apart. Not much to them. Oh yeah, two other things. You got a screw here. That's your mixture screw. Got a spring on it. Usually, if you don't know how to adjust this mixture screw, before you take it out, count how many turns it is in. Watch. There's, oh, that was only out about a half a turn. I was just going to take it out because I know these are supposed to be out 3/4 of a turn. When we put it back together, I'll show you how to adjust everything up. Take that out. This right here is your idle adjustment screw. Goes in the side right here. Take that out. And then once you get this all apart, clean everything out as good as you can. Wipe that old gas and everything out of the bottom of this. Get the gaskets off of here, all the old gaskets. I'll order new gaskets for everything. Put everything in your ultrasonic cleaner. This one has heat. It's got 3 different settings. I put it on for 5 minutes at a time. Sometimes it takes a couple different soaks to get it all done. Put this back again. Sometimes it takes more than one soak to get it done, get all the crud off it. But pull it out, you see stuff on it, you know, clean it off there with a brush or a little screwdriver. Be careful, don't ruin anything. It's an aluminum case. Go through. I got a tool here. It's a carburetor tool. A lot of people use it for their torches. It's got all different kinds of, they're actually little tiny files, all different size diameters, round. Use them to clean out all your jets and everything on the carburetor. Even in the bottom of these little these adjustment screws, there's holes in the sides of them and one on the top. I mean, go through, clean out everything. You want this thing to be absolutely squeaky clean. You do not want any dirt inside your carburetor. You want this thing as clean as you can get it. You know, wherever you're doing it, I put a paper towel down here. I'll show you. I put a paper towel down. I get everything laid out so that, you know, once I get it clean, it stays clean. Then I'll put it all back together. Everything should be good to go. Get yourself a Harley manual. I've got a Harley manual. It tells me how to pull these apart and put them back together. So, you know, that's how I know about how to adjust the mixture screw, the idle screw, and you got to set the level on the float. It'll give you all the specs and everything in there on what to do on what bike you're working on. So I'm going to knock off right now, get all the stuff in the ultrasonic cleaner, get everything cleaned out, poke out all the jets and stuff, and I'll come back and show you. We'll get it back together and get her back on the bike. I also have the tank for this bike. This is it right here. Little Harley 125. Gonna take it. I'm also gonna do a quick video on this. We're gonna take it. It's got a little bit of rust inside, so I'm gonna show you how to clean the tank out, get the rust out of it. We're gonna seal the tank. Carb will be done, tank will be sealed. We're going to put a fresh gas line on it, inline fuel filter, fresh spark plug, get some gas mixed up, oil and gas mixed up, 2-stroke oil, you know, and we're going to get this thing fired up. I bought it cheap. Actually, my kids, for my birthday last year, bought me 3 different little 125 Aermacchis. They got in a package deal. This one, when I got it, actually had compression, rolled over, carb was on it, everything was on it, it's all there. So I think it'll fire once I get it all back together, but we'll find out. If not, it's going to be something in the electrical system. I can make sure I got spark, but hopefully everything will be good on it. We'll find out. Okay, everybody. Pat here again from West Corners Custom Cycles, back in the underground. Want to get this DELL'ORTO carburetor back together for you. I got pieces all over my bench. I want to get back together before something gets lost. I finally got the gaskets in that I was waiting to come in. Little note for you guys out there. This one here that goes on top of the float bowl, extremely tight. I had to like work that on there and work it on there. Be very careful. You're going to tear it. So be word of caution, just to let you know. Okay, we'll start with this. This top of your float bowl. Got a needle and seat thing here. Looks like this. Now, that's going to go in the top hole up here. Just drop it right down in. Boom, it'll go right down in there. Now, then you take this brass piece, where it's got the separation in there between the two sides right in the middle right here. You got to get that on top of that brass piece, which isn't as difficult as it sounds. You just take it, slide it all the way in the back, and let it drop. It'll be like that, and when you turn it around this way and just tap it, it'll fall right into place. And you'll see it won't come out. See how that goes up and down? Oh, yep. You'll see it goes up and down. That's what your float rides on. Okay, then you got to take your float, the groove in your float there, and that goes in the brass part. And then down in the bottom there's a hole that this goes into. There, now your float assembly is assembled. Now you got to put it into the body of the carburetor, down in the body of the carburetor. I hope you can see. Maybe not. There's a hole in there that this end of your float's got to go down into. Make sure you get it in there. Leave this assembly like this. Turn your carburetor upside down. Slide it down over the top. Now, this float bowl top is only going to go one way where the screws line up. So if it don't line up, you got to go 180. Now, once you got that done, there's this brass screw right here. That little brass pivot that the float is on. If you look in this hole, you can see the very end of that brass thing. This goes in there in the brass thing for it to pivot on. So you got to kind of get a little bit of light and you can see where it is. And make sure you're in it and it lines up good. Just screw that into the side. Now you shake the carb, you can hear that float going up and down. It's not bound up, not any issues with it. That way you know once you get gas in there, it'll go up and down like it's supposed to. It'll float. Take your 2 flathead screws, put them back in the top of the float bowl cover. Get them started and tighten them down. And that's the end of your float bowl part. These don't need to be torqued down to 100 foot-pounds. Just snug them up and that gasket will do the rest. Okay. A little snugging. Okay. On top of the float bowl cover, you'll see this threaded part sticking up. See the red gasket on there. You slide your red gasket on there. There's another one identical to it. Find this nut that looks like this. There's 2 of them. One's threaded on the outside. One's threaded on the inside. You want the one that's threaded on the inside. This is the nipple where your gas line hooks up to. Goes right on the top of that float bowl cover. This is a screen that goes inside it. Keeps stuff from your gas tank from getting into your carburetor. Okay, so you got that in there. Now this, make sure your gasket's on there. One of them's going to go on each side of this. Slide it down over the top. Take the one with the gasket on the other one. Put it on there. Get a 14 millimeter or a 9/16. These are actually metric because they're Italian. See, snug that down. Now you have your assembly where your gas line hooks up to, all back in there. All good to go. Now we're going to move on to getting the slider down in here for your throttle. This is your slider. This is your needle that goes in it. If you look, there's 3 grooves. The clip that holds this into this, that there. You want to take this needle, there's a hole in the bottom of this, right in the center. Slide it up in there. You'll see it'll come almost flush with the top there. And if you play with it, you can tell what groove you're in. On the side here, you see that little gap with the needle going up through the center of it? That's where this clip goes. Slide it in the side. Like I said, make sure you got it in the center one. I guess for higher altitudes and lower altitudes is what they use the upper and the lower one for. I guess it helps lean it out and helps it lean it or richen it, depending on what it needs to do. Slide that in there till you hear it click. That's what it'll look like when it's all done. That needle will be, like I said, flush with the top of that. If it's in the wrong one, you'll either be not flush or above it. So you're all good. That's how you know you're all good. Then the slide assembly. This is going to slide down in here. See the brass fitting in the bottom there? That's where that needle's got to go. Little word to the wise. Make sure I'm going the right way here. That square hole is where your choke's going to slide into on the next part of this. You want that to go opposite the side with the slots in it here. So you want it to go on this side without the slots, facing that. So that opening faces this side. Slide it in there. It'll slide down in there. Now there's a little, no, it's not in there right now. Matter of fact, before I slide that in there, I'm going to show you something else. This right here, this screw is your idle adjustment screw. See this slanted part right here? This goes up in there. Screw that up in there. That adjusts your idle once you get your mixture set and you get the bike running. The reason I wanted that in there, so I could show you that down inside here, you can see that sticking out there on the side, right directly over from the center hole there on the left hand side. Well, that goes in this groove down the side of your slide. That way you know you're in straight and it's got to be where it's got to be. So we'll put that in there the way it goes. Choke hole towards this part of the carburetor. Slide it down in there. Now, if I had it and I was hooking it up on the bike to the cable right now, this is where your cable would hook into. You would have to feed your cable down through this top hole. It would come out the bottom hole here, would go through this spring that goes in that bottom hole. The end of your cable would come out this side of the spring, and the ball on the end of it would hook into that hole on your slide right here. And then I'm going to leave the spring out for now because I'm not putting a cable in it, just to show you guys how it goes together. Remember, I told you your choke here goes in this hole right here. So that's going to slide right down on there. And get your slide all the way in. Put that in the hole. And that's just going to sit flush on top of there. Now, like I said, if I had the cable would go down through here, it would go through the spring inside here and hook into that slide, but I'm not going to put the spring in there until I go to hook the cable up. That's all you got to do with this part, except put this ring on that holds it all down. Slide it over the top. Snug it down, just give it a hand tightening. That's your choke, goes up and down. Now, the next thing you got to do, in the bottom of your carburetor, there's a hole here where you took this jet out of. Make sure, see if I can see through it. Make sure your jet's good and clean. You got nice, you know, it's all cleaned out, nothing in there. That's just going to thread back into the bottom of this. That needle and slide that we just put in there, you can see that comes out the bottom. That goes into this. And as that float goes up and down, it either lets gas into the carburetor or it stops it from coming into the carburetor, depending on what it needs to do at the particular time. Okay. Again, these things, nothing in a carburetor needs to be 100 foot-pounds. Snug it down, that's all you need. And where that went in is where your other nut here goes. Now there's a gasket that goes on that too, but it's skinnier than the other two red gaskets that you had on this one. So two that are the same go on here, skinnier one goes on this bottom one. Hear that float going up and down, that's how you know it's free in there. Take this, screw it in the bottom over that. Again, get a 14 mil. Snug it down. Right there it is. That covers that, keeps any gas from coming out of there. Now, the only thing you have left is this screw here. This is your mixture screw. You can see it's got, see if I can see them, get them in the light here where you can see it. Got holes in the end of it. There it is. And there's one in the top too. Make sure these are cleaned out real good. This sets the mixture of gas and air on your carburetor. Goes in the side right here. This is your idle adjustment I showed you earlier. This is where this goes in. Now you're going to put this in here and you're just going to gently finger tighten it in there. You don't want to crank this down with a screwdriver, even though it's got a spot for a screwdriver in the top of it, because if you crank it down too hard, you're going to ruin the needle on the other end of it. So you want to screw this in just snug with your fingers. This gets backed out, according to the book, 3/4 of a turn. So I'll show you. That's what you use the screwdriver for. You go 1/2 turn, and that's about another 1/4. That'll get you there. That'll get the bike to start. Once you get it started, then you monkey with your idle here. Once you run it for a while, you look in the book, it'll tell you how to adjust your carburetor, if it's running a little lean or if it's running a little rich. There's videos out there on Craigslist right now tell you how to read a spark plug, whether it's running lean or rich. I'm not going to get into that. There's enough videos out there, enough people who've made them. I don't need to get into it. That's about it. That's it on the DELL'ORTO, what is it, MB24A carburetor rebuild. Now it's all together. Can go back on the bike. The only thing left, as I showed you in the beginning of the video, this manifold slides in the back here. This is the clamp that goes on it. And you have a screw that goes in the clamp. So, that's it. I can get this on there. I got to seal that gas tank. I was out looking at the bike the other day. Excuse me. I'm going to have to go through some of the wiring on it. I looked and there's a bunch of wiring that's cut and, you know, kind of cobbed together. And so I want to get that all taken care of. I might even see if I can find a NOS, new old stock wiring harness for it. I know a guy that's got a lot of these Aermacchi parts, so I'm going to call him. See what he's got on the shelf. He's got a lot of NOS stuff. So that's it. Again, as usual, be kind to each other, take care, stay safe, and live life behind bars. I'll see you later.